G'day everyone, we're here for another FERMZILLA hints and tips videos. Mostly concerned about dry hopping. There will be some extra hints and tips at the end about your pickup line length and about heat belts. But this is mainly about dry hopping. The reason I'm doing this again is because I'm still getting many questions, and I'm seeing many questions posted in Facebook groups on how to go about dry hopping. There are many ways, but today I'm going to show you a couple that I like to do. There's going to be 3 different ways. There's going to be one in the AR, the all-rounder, because people are asking about that. There's going to be FERMZILLA through the top and through the bottom. It's going to be a big dry hop through the bottom of 200 grams. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to do it without any problems at all. I will firstly start by saying, when you're dry hopping or know you're going to dry hop in things like the FERMZILLA and you're fermenting under pressure, it's a good idea not to be fermenting up at 30 psi or something like that. When you throw those hops in, you're going to get a lot of foaming, especially when you're dry hopping through the top in the all-rounder and through the top in the FERMZILLA, which is perfectly fine to do too. The other thing is, I was at the ANHC, the Australian National Home Brew Conference, I think it stands for, 2 years ago, nearly. And Chris White spoke there about fermenting under pressure and how you're much better to ferment at 1 bar, which is about 15 psi, or under that. Because if you go any higher, up to 2 bar or 30, 35 psi, you're muting the yeast and it's not giving you the flavors it really should give you, as well as muting the off flavors. You're muting the good flavors. It's just not very good for the yeast. So I'd recommend, if you know you're going to be dry hopping through the top, or even if you're collecting yeast, to ferment about 10 psi. I go 15's fine, but I find 10 psi is a good spot. It's good for the ferment, and if you have to take the bottom vessel off and you're collecting the yeast, it's not going to foam up everywhere as much, and when you're throwing the hops in, you're not going to get that big foam up too. So it's just a good thing to remember. It also makes transferring easier. You're not fully carbonated. If you're cold crashing for 4 or 5 days and you've still got it at 15 or 30 psi, 30 psi you're going to be overcarbed. At 15 psi, you still might be overcarbed too by the time you get it into the keg, and you get a lot of foaming when you're trying to transfer. It's possible to do it still if you level out all the pressures, but not many people want their beers carbed that high anyway, especially for ales. So just watch your pressures when you're fermenting. First, we're going to have a quick look at the all-rounder. It's very similar to dry hopping through the top of the FERMZILLA, but people want to see it. So here's a dry hop in the all-rounder. It's about 150 or 60 grams from memory. The amounts changed a little. It was 47 grams of El Dorado because that's all I had left, 62 grams of Azaka because that's all I had left, and 40 grams of Amarillo. So we're looking at about 150 grams all up, or 149 grams. Now this can get very messy because that's under pressure. They can foam up as soon as I put the hops in. It could foam up before I put the hops in. I don't think it will. Let's just have a go and see what happens. I'm not prepared with any rags or anything. I probably should be. I'm just going to bump them through the top. There's no other choice in this unit. Just see what happens. It doesn't seem to be moving, but once I stir it up, it might. The yeast is certainly moving around down the bottom now. I'm going to have to be quick with this. Because I think it's going to foam up. I'll try and stay out of your way. No, that wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad. Lid back on. Is that in? Yep, it's in. Well, that was easy. I don't know if you can see down there, the hops flying around. Hops and yeast is moving around now. You couldn't see any moving before. Here's another dry hop through the top, but in the FERMZILLA, just to show you, it's done nearly exactly the same. And then we'll show you the big 200 grams through the collection jar. Now, there's many ways of flushing the hops with CO2. I've shown in other videos how you can use the CO2 produced from the ferment to flush your own hops, but I'm not going to in this video. Most of the time I don't, because it's just one of those things. It's just easier to whack on the CO2 and do it from the bottle. So that's what we'll do in this one. So I'm going to dry hop through the top. One, it's Saturday afternoon and I'm too lazy to do the bottom method. And two, it'll keep it sort of more even with the other batch I'm doing for a side-by-side if I dry hop it the same way. This is a bigger seal, one of the bigger seals that I put on to test for your video a while back. So I will have to pop this off using the CO2. Well, that's the way I'm going to do it anyway. Whether that's going to make it foam up or make it more messy, we'll soon find out. So I'll take that off. I'll let some pressure out. Oops, it's foaming up already. I'm going to turn this gas down to about... I'll just try it at 4 or 5 first and see what happens. I can loosen this off. I'm trying to do it without getting in the way of the camera. It's difficult sometimes. I have a feeling this could foam up. Every time I let that pressure out, that's getting higher. No time to muck around, I guess. So I've loosened that lid off. I'm just putting gas in so I can pop that up hopefully. Maybe not enough pressure. Oh, there we go. Didn't help I was turning the gas on and not off. I'll get out of the way. Well, that lid's popped. I've got no time to muck around here. Alright, wish me luck. 1, 2, that went in fine. Push that back down. Safe and sound, all done. Out the way, sorry about that. Finally got one of their frisbees. Actually, they're not decent fruit, they're bloody good frisbees. But anyway, I'll try it for this. I may or may not need that. I didn't do it up tight at all. But hang on, before I shut it, I'm going to let a bit of the pressure out. We're at about 10. A little bit of pressure out, we're at about 10. And I know that's going to stir the yeast up a bit, but there's not much I can do about it. I wasn't planning on doing this. Alright, I don't want to let it all out, but most of it out. Because I don't want to let oxygen in. Then I'll shut it. This is going to get messy. I'll try without a thing first. It will be that way, I get. Hang on. Put that against the stand, that helps. Oh, there we go. This is going to make quite a mess. I can try and let's see if there's a little bit more pressure in there I can let out. No, it's not bugger all. There we go. Oops. Oh, I was going right till I dropped it. Here I have 200 grams of hops, 50 grams of Citra, 50 grams of Mosaic, 50 grams of Simcoe, and I threw in an extra 50 grams of Amarillo. Now I could save this yeast if I wanted to. I don't think I probably will, but it's just Nottingham. Making a mess. As I said, this wasn't planned to do. Now I could give that a spray with Star Sand. It's probably really, not really necessary.
at all. I don't even think it's doing anything. I should have just put the hops on there immediately, is probably a better thing. I'm not going to wipe that up there with the towel. Screw this up. And you usually know, like, when you're putting them on, they got grabbed then, but it's usually like, oh, I shouldn't use that. That's usually enough. That's usually more than I'd do it up, to be honest. But I don't have to undo it again. Next thing is the CO2. We're going to flush it with some CO2. Some people hit it with a massive amount. You know, I don't know if that's necessary. We're set at about 10 at the moment. Probably plenty. Undo the lid on the other side a little bit. Still let some out. Yeah, get that out. Like, some really hit it with like 30 psi. I think I saw Nathan or Ollie or someone hit it with 30. I don't know if that really does much difference. Okay, so there's 30 psi on there. I've let out most of the pressure from the top. Oh, that should be a better view. So realistically, there's about 30 psi in there at the moment, and up the top, there's would be nearly nothing. Would be about maybe 1. I'm going to take this beer line off that I just took that sample with. And that should do it. How can I do this so you can see better? Maybe if I turn it around so my arm doesn't get in the way when I'm turning it on. Ready? Let's do this. Bang, you can hear the pressure going out the top because it's only set to 10. That was 200 grams and they've all been stirred up. 99% of them, or at least 90%, 99 now, has gone out of there. Look, it's all gone. There's a couple there, but bugger all. I don't know how people get them stuck there, to be honest. I'm not sure what they do about how they do that. Look at this. That's from all the nucleation points, or the hop stir up the gas, the CO2 in solution. We're up there. I should have probably wound this down a little, but we're still at 10. That should be enough to keep the, I just wound it in a bit to keep the head down. There we go, that's all that's down the bottom now, just a couple that fell back down. That's 200 grams.
Okay, let's talk about the pickup tube length. Now, I'm only talking about the 27 litre FERMZILLAs at the moment. I don't have the bigger ones, the 55s or whatever size they are, so I can't help you there. But I do have the 27 litres that I've been using for a long time now. I do have several of them. I'll show you some footage about how it can help, because people are saying they keep getting stuck to the side and picking up junk when they get down to the cone. But if you have your line the right length, you'll see just as it starts getting to the top of the cone there, because of the length of the line, it starts pulling in and you don't suck in anything from the side, and it doesn't get stuck. If it does get stuck, mine rarely gets stuck. There has been once or twice before I cut the line that it did, but it was still pretty rare, and I just used to bump it. But we'll show you, and I'll measure this when we get back. Excuse the hissing of the CO2, but if you cut your tube short enough, see how it's getting down near the bottom, but it's pulling away from the side. Normally with a long tube, that would be sucking in all that little bit of hop and yeast on the side.
But because that tube is just sort of the right length, can't focus on it, it's pulling away from the sides before it gets to the sides. It should be down there somewhere. And it should be sucking in all that goop, and it isn't. All that goop. There's not much there. This was a big dry hop. But see, that's a little tip of cutting your tube to the right length. There we go. Can't really see. Yeah, see, the pickup tube's not on the side now, so there's the tilt. Oh, we should be okay. See, if that line was longer, it would be stuck to the side. Well, maybe not stuck to the side, but it would be dragging all the stuff off the side there of the fermenter. But since the cord's only short, well, we're about 2 centimetres down from where that line is. Well, I reckon we've got to be there. See, we haven't done too bad at all. We're still drawing clear beer from the centre there, while all that junk is on the side. We're going to run out soon. Look at that. Oh, they're going to call it there. That'll do. So I'll put that up there. It's up inside there. And we'll have a look there. And it's about 40 centimetres to the bottom of the stainless bit. So I suppose the silicon's about 39 and a half maybe. And that is around 15 and a half inches, something like that. Now, I do have one of the newer shaped vessels. It's not much different at all. And if you put them side by side, they're nearly exactly the same shape. I haven't tried it on this yet, but I'm pretty sure this about the same length would still work. So we'll do a quick little test. I've pushed that in, not quite all the way in, because then I'd have to try and pull it out again. But you can see we're right down in the bottom of the, down to here. It's a bit hard to see, it's all out of whack in there, but I think that distance would be about the same. If you were worried, you could try making it a centimetre longer to start with and just see how it goes, and then you might have to shorten it for the next one. But to me, it looks about the same. Now, talking about these, and I have to mention it because I've had nothing but trouble since from it. Dr. Hand's video where he said there was 8 or 9 changes, and I've had many people, I've lost count, contact me saying, I've just bought one and I haven't got 8 or 9 changes. Is this old? Is this, you know? And the simple fact is there isn't 8 or 9 changes. Not yet. All that there is now is there is a different shape of this. I haven't had any problems with the original one. I know some people's have split or something, but I think that's just a manufacture, you know, 1 in 1,000 or something might have problems. That's like with anything. And the only other improvement they did, well, I didn't need it because mine was working without it, but some people have, and I accept that, was the bigger seal, and that's it. Nothing else has changed yet. Possibility in the future there will, but I don't know, there might have been a miscommunication that Dr. Hand's got, or I don't know why else. He wouldn't do it just to stir up people talking about his videos, would he? No, he wouldn't do that. So I'm just letting people know there's no 8 or 9 different changes, at least not yet. There may be in the future. I haven't heard of any. Yeah. And let's have a quick talk about heat belts. You might have noticed in the all-rounder dry hopping video, I think I'd had the heat belt on there still. We were told when they first came out not to use heat belts on them, and I understand why. But Ollie, I'll put the blame on you, told everyone that we could. So I gave it a go, and it worked on the all-rounder. So you can use heat belts on them. Keep them around the liquid. Don't have them above the liquid level at all. And personally, I wouldn't be doing huge temp swings. Like there'd be probably no reason for it. Like you wouldn't put in cold wort and try and heat it 20, 30 degrees or 10 degrees. I don't think, maybe if you were doing no chill and it was too cold, I'd still be a little bit worried about huge temp shifts with it. I had one
heat belt on a stand once. It was sort of hot out in the garage, 30, but I was trying to get, it was a Quikey, so I was trying to get it up to 35, and I didn't have a fridge for it. And I put my, you might have seen it in a video I did years and years and years ago. It's like a esky or a cooler that you can fit your whole fermenter in it, and then you zip it up and you can either put ice in there or you can keep it warm. Now I put that over the top, slid it over the top, and the heat belt melted it. So I am worried about those heat belts, but I can show you the footage. Well, I just showed you the footage that you can use it on the FERMZILLAs, and it seems okay. If anything goes wrong, all your complaints can go to Ollie. No, but I did use it and it seemed to work. So there's a bit of an update. People have been doing it for a few months now. And I haven't heard anyone have any issues from doing it. So there's a little tip again. So I think that'll do. This is the second time I tried to video this. The microphone didn't work the first time. I hope it works this time. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Thanks to my patrons. Thanks to my viewers. Thanks to everybody. Hey. Cheers.